may have just started the meeting and walked away. Jed, if she needs to turn over her control of this, I'd ask her to turn it over to you, only because I'm going to be gone at about 9:30.
Okay.
Getting my frequent Comcast message that my internet is unstable. Okay. Voila, the reason we're here. Okay, just again, just waiting for Wendy, and then we can kick off. Good morning,
Okay,
Brian. Are you back in Massachusetts?
I am.
How was the flight?
It was painless.
Oh, wonderful.
So it's 8 o'clock and Jen's on. So my guess is we're live on Bourne TV.
Yes. Again, got to wait a couple of minutes for Wendy. Actually, let me just grab a pad of paper and I'll take a couple of notes at the beginning of this. This is nothing earth-shattering. Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order right now. I think we've got a quorum, barely.
You.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. How do you feel?
Morning. Hanging in there. I'm feeling better. Yesterday and today, I noticed a big difference in my energy level, and I tested negative too, which is a good thing.
After the first test, it doesn't matter because you'll have both false positives and false negatives for a while.
Right.
As long as you're not hacking, coughing, and infecting everybody.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Did you manage to get Paxlovid?
I didn't.
Oh,
I didn't.
Okay.
But it was
next time. I hope you don't have it next time, but
I know this strain it was a lot worse than I had it over a year ago. Briefly. I mean, I was in a couple days feeling great, but this one, the fatigue, it zaps your energy, which
yes.
I'm not used to.
I had that problem in August when I got it for the second time. Okay, again, I'm going to call the meeting to order at 8:01. Hopefully we'll have Wendy on very shortly. Just for in terms of a roll call, I got regrets from Tony. He has a conflicting appointment, so he's not going to be here at all. I communicated with Wendy as of last evening, and she planned to be on, so she should be here shortly. And last but not least, we did get, you all saw, we got a resignation from Catherine. She's overwhelmed with work commitments and just can't participate at the level she wanted to. So I'm going to send her an email and thank her very much for her service. Thank her also. Just say we'd like to keep her on board as an informal advisor to run ideas by her. I think she'd still be a valuable kind of liaison to the parts of the business community. Anne-Marie, I've got a question for you. What's the procedure for advertising for an open space on the committee?
We can make an announcement at select board meeting on Tuesday. Once once it's filed with the clerk, it's official. So I'll double check with that. It should be filed, I believe, yesterday. I think it was filed. But I'll double check with Marlene, and then it's just a matter of doing it verbally and whether the select board wants to, they'll announce it on the webpage because there are other vacancies for positions on different committees. So yeah, we can keep it in the forefront of just advertising for it through the select board and at meetings.
Okay, and again,
and then word of mouth. I mean, if anybody has someone in mind and wants to approach, that's fine too.
Okay, I've got a few chronic complainers in mind, but they tend not to want to do anything. Okay, these problems obviously magically solve themselves if you complain enough, right? You hear that, Anne-Marie, all the time. I'm sorry. Okay. The next thing is the review and approval of minutes from the last meeting. Does anyone have any comments? And again, I've got to scribble notes here, waiting for Wendy to come.
No, that I read them over. They look fine to me.
The one item I saw, and I can't pull that screen up right now, was the reference to BEAD grants coming out or competition beginning on June 15th. If we can, I think the procedure actually is that MBI is going to announce their final rules. They're including the challenge rules.
I put it up for you guys so you can see it.
Good. Okay, and the item is, pardon my squinting here, even on a 17-inch screen.
Yes, D3. Yeah.
Yeah. C3.
D.
Okay.
Letter D. Letter D, number 3.
Okay. Yeah. June 15th, I think, is the date that the testing window opens, but they have to announce the challenge rules. They have to announce kind of when they're going to accept challenges. They have to presumably come out with information on exactly what tests they will accept. Then they will have the testing period begin June 15th, and then after that, the challenge gets filed sometime after that, after the data from 15th to July 15th comes in. And
Now,
then
we should point out, I mean, they do have the initial, all of that stuff's been sent out for review, right? So they have the initial version of this all out there now.
right,
So really all we're waiting for is for them to finalize that document.
right. But essentially, the challenge will not happen until after the June 15th to July 15th testing
Right.
window is
Right.
completed, and presumably some time to agglomerate the data. And then they will go from move on from there. After that, the
Yeah,
challenge
I think it's September or October they make the awards, something like that.
right. Yeah.
Sorry I'm late. I had no internet this morning. I got nothing.
Shocking.
Wait, oh man, I was
cannot
all
believe
set to
it.
like put this up on the screen and the stuff that I was doing with Bob yesterday, and I got nothing.
Okay.
So
And then Zoom takes 10 minutes to update,
yeah,
when
and
you
I'm
finally do connect.
yeah, I'm working on it. I will have this for you, Bob, but it's not satisfactory. I'm really sorry.
No worries. I mean, this is a work in progress. We'll get to that in a bit. We're just talking about the minutes right now, and
Yeah, where are we?
actually, the only comment is from me, and it was about D number 3. In fact, the June 15th date is the beginning of the testing window. June 15th to July 15th testing window.
Oh, I thought that was the deadline.
No, that's the beginning. And then after those data are collected, and anybody correct me if I'm wrong, there will be some kind of a time limit to submit a challenge. And shortly after that, there will be applications will be accepted for the BEAD grants. And then the award happens in the fall sometime, Jed. You said September, October?
Yeah, that's what I believe.
Okay, I'll fix that.
That's the only thing.
Nothing
Any other
else?
corrections? Hearing no other corrections, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Okay.
John moves. Anyone else?
I'll
Second?
second.
Okay, Jed seconds. All those in favor?
Hi.
I
No opposed? Okay. And real quick, in terms of attendance, Wendy,
Everybody, who's
Tony sent his regrets, and then Catherine resigned. And we've already talked about a procedure to go forward with replacing that, starting at the select board meeting next Tuesday, announcing her resignation.
Okay.
If it's the appropriate item on the agenda, maybe we move to allow Wendy to advertise widely that we have an opening.
That should be under media outreach,
Yeah,
data
okay,
draft to enterprise on the et cetera.
okay. I'll wait till then.
Okay, got it. Everybody else here?
Yes,
Yeah, it looks like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah. We have 5 of us here plus Anne Marie.
okay.
Okay. Let's see. Public correspondence. I did just get a photograph of the pod, if you will, from what's her name, Tracy, and I haven't gotten the address of it yet. But we're trading emails here, so hopefully I'll have an address and we could figure it out. There are similar types of pods that are clearly junctions for both.
Can you put that up, Bob, on the screen? Possibly share it?
Um, give me a second because I've lost the email. One moment. Give me 1 second here. Well, anyway, let me do that a little bit later, if I may, only because we're time limited, and I'm just concerned. I want to be able to get through the select board presentation that Wendy and I have been working on, and it's at a very early stage.
There's that.
Wendy, could you put up what we have?
I would like to do that. I will see whether I can or not. And I'm not sure that's here. Stand by. I came down this morning to do that, and I was throwing things.
Are we still
Screaming
with
at my
T-Mobile?
husband saying, "Don't you dare look at your email. I got to do this."
Oh.
So
I'm sorry, what was
let's
the
see.
question?
My question was to Wendy, are you still with T-Mobile?
Do I have a choice? Do I have
I don't
Well,
know.
you can pull a jet and get a dual WAN router set up there, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
have
that's,
two
that's actually-
ISPs.
I still have that gadget you recommended that I buy that has not even been plugged in yet. So I'm not in a position to buy anything else. Okay, here we go. This is like totally not amended since I left Bob's house. So
Okay.
you'll have to take my word for it for things that we're gonna do.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and put her up?
Yeah, I'm working on it. Okay. Where are we? Zoom, share screen. Okay.
Well, she's doing that. Anne Marie, can you give guidance on how much platform time we expect at the select board at the beginning of February?
That's let me know what you think. I would say anywhere between 10 to 15, maybe 15 minutes. I mean, it's a big reporting, so
Yeah, it's a big report and there's a lot to cover. And I think we're going to plan to give them copies of most of the details in hard copy and just hit the high points in the slides. But I'm not sure that 10 minutes is going to be remotely fair to let them know what's up and what we need.
yeah, as long as we have the slides ahead of time.
Yep.
I mean,
Well,
just give me a heads up if you think
Yep.
it depends on, how much we have on the agenda as well. So if it's a
Sure.
single agenda item, then you
Yeah.
can probably have more time. I'm
Mhm.
not sure, or if it's just going to be under committee reports. But I'm hoping I'll let Mary Jane know, or at least ask that it be a standalone agenda item.
Okay.
That'd be a good idea.
We are
Appreciate
going
it.
to try to do this and get it a draft report beforehand, maybe as well as the slides. And the report is,
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys see so many pages of paper in front of you, so to speak, that we're trying to think about doing it as bullets, okay, that hit the high points as opposed to
Right.
a lot of
Right.
verbiage, if that helps in terms of
Yes.
volume.
Yeah.
Did that screen share for you, everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, we're up and
Good.
running.
Okay, good.
I need to make mine a little bigger here. One moment. Okay.
All right.
just as a start, I've got these organized as slides, and the first slide is just going to be a title that just lists the members and activities September to December. Beginning with the second slide, we probably decided that we're going to eliminate this. This is a summary of the charge, okay? And it's not clear that we need to do this because it gets done again further down as we go through the accomplishments or the milestones under each one of those items.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think we were going to reorder the whole thing to follow our charge.
Yeah.
And
Well,
not say, oh, by the way, this is our charge, and then these are all the things we do. Just say, first item of charge, these are the things that we're supposed to do for this, and these are the things that we did. Second item of charge, these are the things we're supposed to do. This is what we did. And that'll be easier for them to follow, and they'll have a better clue as to how the whole process is supposed to have worked and how we did it. So that this is what you're looking at is not remotely close to that.
Well,
yet.
this slide number 2 and slide number 3 will go away just to eliminate verbiage.
Yeah.
It'll be available as an appendix or whatever in the report so they can refer to it. But if you go down to scroll down to slide 4, Wendy.
4.
Okay. This is for lack of a better term, I call this accomplishments to date relative to elements in the charge. And just going through these very quickly, if you all recall, on December 8th or so, Tony sent a very nice bullet list of accomplishments. And what we've done here is folded those into where they fall underneath the charge. And in a couple of cases, I just dropped Tony's text in directly until we can edit it down. The first item on the charge is, there's a long page of statutory duties of a cable advisory committee according to Mass General Laws, something or other. And we dropped in here relative to cable TV, what we did is at the request of the select board, sent this letter to Comcast. And we'll work on editing the text down.
This is hash. This is like if you're about to make stew, you have the potatoes and the onions and the carrots. Nothing's peeled, nothing's cut up, and we haven't started browning the meat yet.
Okay.
But we will get a good stew out of this.
Okay. The next item under Roman numeral 2, it's something like A through F. Maintain accurate records of poorly served areas. And then B is gather information about historical and current internet provider infrastructure and performance quality. And any of these arrows here are just, I put those in lieu of bullets as indicating some kind of a milestone or accomplishment or activity. The first is ongoing interactions with the Cape Cod Commission relative to the digital equity planning study. And the specific items include, we had a presentation with them on October 12th. We've had participated in community outreach activities. For instance, I sat with them for a morning at a booth at a Council on Aging session. Oop, you just went
What happened there? You just
Okay.
never know what's going to happen here, Go away.
Try clicking someplace, Wendy, and it might come back or hit the escape key.
Yep, I'm going. I'm doing it. All right, here we go.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
The next item for the ongoing study is we participated, of course, in their digital equity community planning engagement workshop on November 13th. The next arrow there for a big item is we've done a lot of community outreach to increase the number and geographic breadth of speed testing of the current provider using both the Cape Cod Commission and MBI testing protocols. We were able to procure and do some analysis of the Microsoft speed data for Bourne. by the time we do this, we'll have a formal request to MBI for more granular UCLA data, and I'll define what UCLA is, probably verbally, to keep words off the slide. Okay, that's item A and B. Without talking in detail about the number of words, et cetera, and the wording, is everybody okay with those as activities, milestones, accomplishments?
Yeah.
Did we miss anything here?
I'd have to go back through all my old. I have a copy of every agenda, but I don't think we missed anything.
Okay.
Scroll up a little bit just so I can see the top of the page.
Did we mention that the letters that we sent out to Verizon and Comcast, basically?
No,
I'd like
drafting
to
those-
scroll up for you. I would, but
I don't know
You know-
where those go. We'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Let me make a note of that.
Right, the letters with regards to the gap, and also the letter to Verizon asking them, for their intentions.
yeah, I believe we referred to those later on
Okay.
the rearrangement because those are big things, and I'm sure we would not be neglecting to mention that.
And we've is the Tech Council mentioned in here? Tech Council and the broadband coalition, since we've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
making
Yep.
contacts.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Oh, yeah.
further down.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Totally frozen here. God damn it. It is what it is.
Okay. What's up, Wendy? Okay.
It's frozen. I can't
Okay.
roll
Well,
this
let's look
anymore.
at slide 5. Can everybody see slide 5 there?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
this is item Roman numeral 2C. Generate new performance tests if existing data are insufficient. And the activity is that we've identified an opportunity for townwide speed testing, copying a recent program in New Bedford. And then I describe what their plan, or actually it's been completed already, what their activity was. And then down below, I said it's an opportunity for Bourne. See recommendation number 1. I think the recommendation is that we find a way to execute that same type of speed test, and we'll move that up from below as well as keep it repeated there. So we'll put the actual recommendation right in there. Okay. Any way you can scroll on that, Wendy?
I'd like to do that.
You don't have anything off to the side?
No, see the little spinny thing? That means I'm not doing anything for a while.
No, we don't see the spinny thing.
Oh, you don't?
We see
Okay,
your
well,
cursor moving around, but that's about it.
you may
Yeah,
want to
well-
just try to close it and reopen it, or
yeah,
unshare the screen and then reshare it again.
I know. If I could do that, I would have done it already.
Okay.
All right. We are recording this, so I can't say bad words, can I?
We're also live on TV.
Hi, everybody. This is what happens when you have lousy internet service.
Well, then it's hard to narrow down where if the problem is the hardware, or if it's the digital
Oh, I
equity
know.
related
I know.
issue.
I know. I think that the only thing I can do is just do a hard shutdown and start over. Can
It
you?
looks like you're not even in the window because I don't see the top bar is selected.
I
So you try
know.
clicking the top of it just to see if it reacts.
No, we're frozen here.
Maybe hit escape.
Maybe.
And always try
Escaping.
Alt Tab because the update window's there, and I don't know if something's blocking your access to the screen.
Let's just try force quit and start over. Let's get rid of Acrobat. Acrobat always does bad things.
Unknown caller.
Microsoft Word not responding. What a surprise that is. hate
What's the
Microsoft
Control
Word.
Alt Delete equivalent on Mac?
There we go. All right, now. There was a problem with Microsoft Word. Yeah, we know fooling. Microsoft Word sucks. Sorry. All right, now let's try that again.
It doesn't in the PC version.
Yeah, well, they don't really care about people that can do better
I know.
graphics
I've
or better
used
word
I've used
processing.
both throughout my career. The PC version, in fact, the Microsoft Office 365 actually works pretty well. It surprised me, but it does.
Yeah, well, I hate these people. Where is it? Oh, it wants to download this all over again. Oh, great.
Time for a refill of coffee while you get that restarted.
Yeah, really. Everybody go get another cup of coffee. Put the recording on hold, and I'll
I do have a funny story. I installed at the urging of Comcast, installed an updated modem to put me up to DOCSIS 3.1, which is high as they offer here. And it was a real problem because they want you to do it by using their phone app. And the problem with that is that my cell reception at the house can be a little shaky. It's okay for phone calls and texts, but trying to get on the internet is sometimes problematical. So I've got a situation where I'm trying to update it and I can't get into the app and it will not authorize. It has to my new high-speed modem. And I eventually ended up having to, be on hold for 10 or 15 minutes and talking to someone overseas who was able to eventually rectify the problem. But it took about 30, 40 minutes to do. And I said, is there any way that I can, it used to be in the old days when you put a new modem on Comcast, a screen would immediately come up on your Internet Explorer or Chrome saying, oh, we see you have a new modem, click here, enter the MAC address, etc. It'll take 5 minutes and we'll authorize it. And they couldn't do it. They said, oh, no, you have to use the phone app. I said, but I don't have enough phone reception. They didn't care.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so I'm trying to find
the hardwire
some kind
of, using a LAN cable into the modem and then just manually.
That's what I did. That's the only way I
everything.
did it. I used the LAN cable into the modem. The problem is that my normal phone reception comes through my Wi-Fi. So, of course, the Wi-Fi isn't going to work if the modem is. So unless I can install the modem update it before I actually put it in. So I'm trying to get an email address from Comcast to email someone and say, look, is there a procedure for doing this? And unfortunately, all they want to do is put you on their AI chatbot. That's it. There is no contact information. If you want to call and talk to someone overseas, you can do that, but you can't actually email their tech service people and say, look, you have a procedure for this. How do you do this?
I think I have the email for the just consumer escalations people. So not like anybody could have this. That's not like a special access. I think I can give you the email to escalate.
Please give it to me because I just like to ask them. I mean, the woman that I talked to was very nice, very polite, very helpful, but she had to basically go into my account and update all the information. And then it takes 10 minutes for it to register. Then you have to reboot your modem a couple of times. And it was crazy.
Wendy,
the end result of it is I do have faster download speed. It went from like a little over 200 to about 350, 375. Upload's still the same. Jed will know they're using a lot more frequencies. That's how they're doing it, and then they're bonding it all together. There's a lot more frequencies.
Wendy, any success?
This thing is still trying to download from the cloud, so it's not
I'm going to go
happen.
with put up the old version that we worked on that you edited, and mine doesn't have the edits in there. So let me get it up and give me a second. Okay. Share screen. Let's see what we got here. Hang on a sec. Where did that report go? Here we go. Okay. Can folks see that?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. Allow me to scroll up here. Hopefully I don't go in the same black hole that Wendy's had the problem with.
Welcome to Pocasset.
Okay, I need the scroll bar over on the side. There we go. Okay, here we are back on what will be slide 4 for 2C. Any questions on the performance testing using the method that New Bedford used with the school system? Okay, well, since that's going to be an ask from the select board, we may have to do more explanation there. The next one, monitor literatures for new technologies in internet services. So that's pretty much ongoing. That's Wendy has been, and others have been posting links about articles from Dawson and others about Sean Gonzalez and others who have been working on improved technology that might be applicable to Bourne. So that's short and straightforward. Item E is investigate opportunities for fiber to the home and fiber to business utility opportunities, too many words, strategies, cost analysis, and project planning. And that's recommendation 2, and I'll get to that down below, but that could be both a feasibility study and an actual kind of a business evaluation study. And I'm not exactly clear what the line is in between, so I need some guidance from the rest of you guys. But we'll get down to that further. That ought to be dropped in there. Item F on another slide. Make recommendations to the town about any consortium. So we've had the first activity is frequent interactions with the Cape Cod Technology Council relative to activities of other towns and opportunities for coordinated activities. We shared our letters of support that we made for Verizon and for Comcast. We shared that with the Technology Council, and I don't know exactly who, but I heard noise that some of those towns or entities on that council were actually going to sign on and just endorse our letter. So I think that would say we have some gravitas in this whole process. The next is information sharing on the extensive comments that we made on MBI's draft Internet for All rules. Those are the BEAD rules, and those are the 2 letters from the select board to MBI. And again, those were circulated around by the Technology Council.
Should we attach those letters to this thing just because we can, just to remind everybody, so they won't have to go looking for them elsewhere?
We can put that as an appendix to the report, I think.
Yes,
You know,
I think we should.
Certainly, I'm not going to call those up on the screen in front of the select board. Platform is too precious. And again, you know, in 15 minutes, realistically, we're going to be able to make 3 takeaway points that the select board is going to remember. Anything more than that, and you know, the eyes are going to glaze over, and they're going to say, you know, just too much information. Okay, moving on. The next activity is monitoring progress of other Cape towns, and that's Falmouth, Barnstable, Truro, and Wellfleet are the major areas of activity. And the last ongoing activity is inquiry to the Mass Broadband Coalition about their charter and options for Bourne to participate. And the short answer is that right now they don't have a charter. And you know, I discussed last week, you know, what the limitations on you know, the select board participating in that would be. The next on slide 7, and this might be this needs to be edited down. I originally put together something that was kind of a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, etc., and circulated that to Wendy and Tony, and I just dropped what I saw as opportunities, the list in here, and this probably is redundant in a few cases. We haven't edited that out. I'm waiting. Wendy, when she gets some time, she'll edit that out and eliminate the redundancies and a lot of the excess words here.
Yeah, I think when we reorder the whole thing and have as its conceptual framework, as they say in the ed biz, our actual charge, most of these things will slot into those categories.
uh,
So when we tell them what we're supposed to do, we tell them what we did, and then we tell them this is what should happen next, or what we were going to do next, or what we're going to ask the select board or town meeting to do next. And so all of this stuff will get sorted out and put in there.
Okay. Just one last kind of a salient bullet here is about Verizon's activities, whatever they are in Gray Gable and Monument Beach. If in fact they are providing fiber to the home, if we can either through the Monument Beach Association or whatever, identify what their actual take rate is. How many people are willing to pay whatever the monthly charge is and switch from Comcast. Again, Comcast is the incumbent in all of Bourne except for the unserved areas, and the take rate is going to indicate whether somebody is so fed up with Comcast they're willing to switch over to Verizon, and that indicates either for Verizon extending their business to the rest of Bourne or for some other entity to extend the system. How many customers are willing to switch, because that's crucial for the business pro forma. Exactly how much how you amortize the cost of a system depends on how many customers you have.
Well, hell, look what just popped up on my screen. Everything appeared.
Okay, should we switch back to your screen, Wendy?
Well, we can. We'll see if it works, huh?
Okay, give
Wouldn't
me a
that be
second.
fun?
Let me kill mine. I'm killing mine.
Oh. Okay, say when.
Go ahead. It's not up yet.
Now, let's see, is that it? Or is that it? Bingo.
That's the minutes.
That's the minutes.
No, it's not. This is the slides.
Well, what you shared was the minutes.
Yeah, and it said
All right, let's go back.
I hate it when it says that word recovered at the top.
Yeah, that's always a problem. Okay, now how do I get back to my Zoom screen that says you can do this?
Tell it shut off sharing.
I don't have that control here, so I would like to do that.
It should be. Normally, it's at the top of the screen in my version. If you run your mouse all the way up, it'll say unshare or shut off.
I know that. But what I'm telling you is that what I have is just a little thing that says thumbnail video, show active speaker video, show thumbnail video, show grid video. And that's the only choice I have on the window that I'm looking at. Piece of crap. Let's
perhaps
try
on the bottom of the screen. I haven't.
There's nothing. There's nothing there.
Try hitting escape on your keyboard and see if that does it.
Sure, why not?
Try hitting Alt S.
Well, this is no Alt S. There is no Alt S.
Alt F.
F.
S as in Sam, as in share screen.
Yeah, you're right. If you hit the Alt button and then hit S at the same time, you might.
We don't. Okay.
It's such a long time since I had a Mac. I don't remember.
Let's try that. Nope. Nope. And nope. Ah, son of a bitch. I hate this. I just.
Okay, well, we're going to go back to my version. Okay.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. see if I can. Okay, you cannot share screen while the other participate.
No kidding.
Yeah.
All right. Be back in a minute.
I just switched to multiple participants being able to share. So try again, Bob.
Ooh, thank you, thank you.
Oh, what a good idea.
Okay, folks, tell me when you can see that.
I have to use a menu. I can see it, but I had to go to the top and change my share screen view option to share Robert Dwyer's screen.
Okay, folks, thank you for the instruction.
I've got it.
Everybody say when you've got it.
Ah, there we go. I'm viewing Robert Dwyer's screen.
Okay,
Yep, same here.
everybody have it up?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, moving forward. Again, that list of opportunities at the top of what you see needs to be pared down and harmonized with the rest of this presentation.
Yeah.
But slide 8 is essentially our recommendations, the way forward, and these need to be reprioritized. But I've also put numbers that connect to some of the recommendations up above. The first that I've got listed here is that we need to consider and probably follow the recommendations of the Digital Equity Planning Study report, which is going to come out second quarter. I don't recall exactly I haven't seen their contract. I don't know what their deliverable date is.
So yeah, the original contract was February, but I think what they told us was they're going to do a preliminary in February and a final in May.
Yeah. So by February, we'll have a good idea of what their findings and recommendations are, and then we can act on that. The first substantial item that has costs associated with it is to do a contract for the middle school home speed testing and report. Again, the contractor here is at least the principal of the company is a guy named Sean Gross, who has done this for New Bedford. By the way, New Bedford did take the study from their middle school planning and use that as the basis for their GAT network grant application.
Which is incredible because the timeline was so tight that they had, having data on the shelf that was already qualified is when these grant opportunities come was a huge advantage for them.
Yeah. Again, so they have 2,000 middle school students. Bourne has, Anne Marie, you'd know that better than I, about 430, 440, something like that. I don't know.
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking, about a fifth of the number of students. This would be the analysis and reporting would still be the same regardless of the number of data points in the spreadsheet, for lack of a better term. So I think this would be a contract that'd be on the order of $20,000 to $30,000 to actually do this, to have this set up in place, do the testing during the while the kids are still in school, and then for any that still have the computers, do the testing later on, June 15th to July 15th, when school is out of session.
Did you read the docs?
Yeah. Yeah. One question. I have a dog coming in here who's bored. Okay.
Do the kids get to keep their Chromebooks after school is out of session? Do they get to keep them over the summer?
Any kids who are in summer school do, as far as I know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There might be an issue we have to run by Sean because the data will ultimately need to be available for the challenge period. So that's part of the expertise that we're asking for. Like, is this the right play? Do we do them on different computers? Do we send them, do we send it instead of middle schoolers? Do we send it to general population? That kind of thing. We've got to figure out what the correct way to you do this is. So that's part of the consulting fee, I guess.
Well, yeah. Well, the process here, of course, is that this would be something that would have to go out for bid, I would think. Is something in that range? Is that a size that needs to be bid, Anne Marie?
I'm not sure the dollar amount that's capped. There is a line item in the budget for contractual services in the TA's budget. But I'm not sure what the dollar amount cap is for that with respects to having to go out to bid. This may have to because it involves the school district.
Right. Yeah. Well, in any case, again, if we present this before the select board and it's in money that would come from the TA's discretionary budget, it's small enough to fit in that, and we get the money, this would have to be something that would get expedited relatively quickly. And the scope of work for this would have to be very specific. So my guess is that Sean would be Gross's company would be the only company bidding on it. So it would turn around quickly. In any case,
can we get an answer on that? Like, what's the TA's budget if it's school, if it's not school? Because maybe we saw it's just for general knowledge because we don't know that.
Yeah, we can figure that out beforehand.
Can Anne Marie get a hold of that faster than anybody else?
Probably.
Great.
Well, wait till we get just a little bit further on this, and we can figure that out.
I have just a quick side question regarding the software, and you might know, does this just record basically speeds and nothing else? I'm only concerned that someone might raise an objection if there is a privacy issue involved. In other words, does it record what addresses are being connected to, or does it just basically record upload and download speeds?
Yeah, it records the address, John. And there's Sean went through all of this with New Bedford. They also have a release form that is included with all this. There's an opt-out available in addition. And then because you have to have the addresses in order to do to point out where the issues are, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So anyway, Sean went through all of this with New Bedford. I don't remember all the exact details. I know address was involved. And he said he got someplace close to 100% acceptance on this in the city of New Bedford.
Great.
Good.
Yeah, you need the physical address too, and not just IP, because the bead
Exactly.
everything goes down to the parcel level.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm concerned with what address you're connecting to, not from. In other words, are we essentially creating a log of what websites the students might be connecting to?
No,
I don't believe so.
Okay, that's all I was concerned with, is because there's just...
Oh, I see what you're saying, where they're going.
Yeah.
No, I think he's reading the speed off of the network adapter in the unit.
Okay.
Without actually tracking individual addresses.
Yeah, because it's a system level application that's loaded on the Chromes. You can't even access it as a user. You don't even know what's happening.
Okay, well, let's move on from that. Obviously a lot of fleshing out here if we're going to do a recommendation to the select board to ask for money. The next bullet, again, track any MBI grant awards. Presumably those are going to come out very quickly with regard to GAP networks. And frankly, once those are announced, we can get the proposals and identify what the winning attributes of those proposals are, and frankly identify we know of 4 entities right now that are applying: Comcast, Verizon, Open Cape, and New Bedford. And if any of those, everybody,
NetSpeed might have applied that we don't know.
Okay, so that ends up being 5. We can if they make an award, we can find out exactly what they proposed, what their winning attributes were, to perhaps emulate when the time comes to do BEAD applications.
Yeah, one of the things we did, Bob, because I have this up on my iPad since I can't seem to get it on my desktop, um, was to, on each one of these line items, note which item gets done by our committee and which needs to be done by the select board. And we were going to break those down so they could, see what the difference was. And we also added in there, we were going to follow up with the MBI by March 1st to find out about their award determinations, if they'll tell us. So there were stuff like that. And we were going to, we kind of rewrote this list here. Was consider and follow recommendations from the digital equiplanety study, which is for us and the select board. Look at the middle school speed testing and report supplemental data from summer school as we have it. And we were going to think about putting little call out boxes on the side for anything that would have a financial cost. So the select board could just eyeball this and see what money we would have to get a hold of one way or the other. The next one was going to be tracking the Gap Network grant awards and including plagiarizing as necessary. They can plagiarize ours, we can do theirs. The next one was preparing the area challenge for the BEAD application, and we were going to define that once again, using the currently available data plus anything from the middle school tests. Next one was tracking the incumbent ISP activities in Bourne, which is ongoing. And that was us to do us. The next one was contracting for a network design study, according to Tony's submission, for completed fiber to home system options, including the cost range. And that was going to be town meeting. That was going to have to go to town meeting for funding. The next one was funding the initial feasibility study, and that was for the select board to do. And the last was to evaluate opportunities for partnerships with other towns. For example, partnerships with joint ISP provider for Bourne with other municipality or municipalities. And that was in Tony's text and options. And that was for us to do.
I think there should be one more thing in the way forward, since
What's
we
that?
want to, if we're going to be asking for money eventually, we should put them all on the table in one go. We may want to consider a consultant to help write a BEAD application in the future. And that one's predicated on several of these other ones first. But we may want to put that out there that could be an ask down the road. We don't know what that will cost yet. We don't know who that would be and don't exactly know what it would entail. But because a lot of that's going to be driven on speed testing data showing we have a problem big enough for a challenge, network planning, everything, it's predicated on a lot of other steps, but we may as well mention that now.
Yep. Okay. We can stick that in there.
Because we've seen, as we've seen, New Bedford's gotten a lot further with MBI with a consultant in shortest amount of time. So potentially we want to start identifying people who can help with that.
In any case, the areas that unfortunately Tony wasn't available to for the last few days to help write some more on this, but so two relatively non-technical people were putting this this together. So we need input regarding exactly what the steps are in terms of doing first a feasibility study. I think that's first, and then maybe a high level design study. My understanding of a feasibility study is either something like Dawson did in Falmouth, or at a higher level, what was done for the city of Cambridge. And then a high level design study is kind of, that's where you identify the locations of every pole, You look at every pole and identify whether it's suitable or not, et cetera. So that's an on-the-ground type analysis. And I think the company was Tilson that did that in Falmouth.
Yes, Tilson.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some other ones too. Other towns have done similar with some companies out of like New Hampshire and things like that. So there's a couple of companies that will do that.
Okay. And those are both of those are big numbers. Okay. And I don't know what exactly those are.
Well, I think the Tilson work was 75 or 80,000, right? And
They said it would depend how cagey Verizon and Eversource is with the poll data. So if they could get an initial set, they said it could be as low as 50.
Right.
If it's really difficult and they have to remake everything, it's like 100.
Yeah, I'm just going by what Falmouth spent.
Yeah, Falmouth was about 75.
75 or 80 they spent on the Tilson study, and then the Doug Dawson study, I think, was in the 30-40 range.
Okay. And basically that the feasibility study would identify the various options for a business entity to actually run this thing.
It could. I mean, I think the feasibility study seems to have a lot of range in terms of scope, because if you look at what they did in Cambridge, I felt that was more of a nuts and bolts feasibility study, where I think what Doug did in Falmouth was a broader conceptual feasibility study. So I think we would have to go off and discuss amongst ourselves what we want the scope of the study to be.
Well, not only that, but we have to discuss what should be included in order to sell this to the select board and to the town citizens.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
That's the real nut to crack. Again, you heard the skepticism from Gary Maloney, who was on the call last week. This is Anne Marie for your information, and he was saying, "Gee, what's the problem? I'm sitting here in Buzzards Bay, and I've got 5 TVs running 4K and 5 kids running, doing multiplayer games on it, and everything's just fine."
Yeah, and my wife's got a business, and I've got a business, and we're just running top speed here. And said, "Yeah, well, that's nice."
You're exactly right, Bob. And in fact, that's the approach Falmouth took. They worked backwards, I think, from the town meeting presentation. They basically said, what do we got to say at town meeting, or what do we have to show at town meeting to convince everybody? And then they worked that, I think, backwards into the feasibility study.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, the resistance here is not only from some well-served areas in the town like Buzzards Bay, but Marlene is going to be very resistant to recommending anything to the select board that involves any pressure especially on town employees. There is absolutely no wiggle room at all for extra work for town employees. They're overloaded with what they've got. So this has to be totally independent of them. And then with regard to financing, with the other hungry mouths to feed that are on the horizon, this is going to be something that the select board is going to have to prioritize in order for it to get to a higher level of visibility. When we get to the BEAD grant application, it has to be some entity that's actually applying for the grant, and if they receive the grant, there has to be some entity to manage it. And if that isn't the town government, then we have to come up with something that's independent of that. Is that a fair assessment, Anne Marie? Is my skepticism here appropriate?
That's fair. Yes.
Okay. So,
is there any? I mean, we understand that the folks in New Bedford had an angel that spent a lot of his company's own money on getting their speed testing and whatnot. And I wonder if it's possible for us to get that kind of money somehow. And I don't know how or whether yet, but is there a way to integrate that into management by the applying agency, which presumably would be the town? Or is that
Well,
way too
again, I think the
complicated?
determination is this something the town's going to do? And if it involves the schools, then, there would have to be a level of participation or a point person through the schools.
I understand that. What I'm talking about is melding the finances. Is that going to be too complicated, or is there some rule against that or something like that?
What do you mean by melding the finances?
If I won the lottery and I went to the town and said, we want the school to be able to do this, but here's the money for it. And you guys provide the administrative support as required by whatever it is in the town rules. Is that a feasible thing, or is that just like too
It's
complicated to
feasible.
do?
It's feasible.
Okay,
Whether,
well,
yeah, it's
okay. Well,
feasible.
I haven't won the
Whether the
lottery,
school system, has an IT person that would take it on. I mean, that would have to be a joint decision, my guess.
okay.
Yeah.
But my question is, would they have a mechanism or an aptitude or a willingness to enjoin that kind of cooperation with a private entity if we could dig it up?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well,
That's
I
the
think,
question.
yeah, I think that there would be a possibility if you could show that the end result might be improved internet service for their students, improved connectivity.
Or the town. I mean,
Right,
looking
but
down the
particularly
way,
for the students, because you're talking about going to the school committee and it's like a whole separate budget, and they
right.
have their own separate
I'm trying to
administration.
look beyond the school committee and the budget for the kids and the speed testing. I'm looking down the road to the halcyon day when we get a big honking grant from the BEAD folks. Would there be a way to do a joint venture between the town and whoever we would need to work with that? Or would
Well, there's
that,
been joint ventures in the past, right? When we've constructed new schools, there's been a committee set and there's been a joint venture. There has to be some kind of oversight.
Well, I
So
understand that,
yeah, there's
but
been joint ventures in the past.
okay, because this is I'm not thinking limiting it to the schools. I'm looking at the overall bead for the town and for underserved areas. Because if there's absolutely no way that they could consider that kind of cooperation with somebody who isn't actually part of town government, then there's no point to even trying.
Right.
But if they
I-
would, then we can work on that.
Well, I think the bigger issue is going to be that this government funding is going to require that the town own the infrastructure. So the town
Yes.
has to take on responsibility for ownership and operation for the life of the asset. And I
Yeah.
believe that's one of the bigger concerns I heard from the town is they don't want that responsibility,
Oh, great.
right?
Um,
So this is the reason why MLPs get formed, by the way,
Yes.
because the town doesn't take on ownership of the asset. It's the MLP that takes it on.
I heard some rumblings from other towns. There's an accelerated process to create an MLP if the town government is fully supportive. And I didn't get enough detail on it since we had only ever seen the Falmouth model where they did it around them, which took 2 years. Some of the other towns said if the select board or the executive entity or whatever supports it, it can go to an official town meeting, and then a separate special town meeting can be done in the same year. I gotta dig up the details, so it'd be tight. Regardless, it'd be tight given the rollout of BEAD funds.
Mhm.
Tight but not impossible is the what it was conveyed to me.
Well,
And we still have to solve some issues with whether that's the most cost efficient structure to begin with, because the pole licensing fees, MLP might have to pay them, whereas direct town owner does not.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do like a spring and then a fall town meeting.
Well,
So-
just backing up, let's talk more conceptually instead of the timeline here. I mean, the only way the town could be convinced to do this is that if the funding source, either grant funding or funding from bonding or something, independent bonding of a separate entity, were to provide enough staff for at least one staff member to run this, either in an MLP or in the town itself. And there was no risk at all to the town, in terms of its bond rating or anything else. I think that's the only way if the business model for that were laid out that way. That's my personal opinion.
Or even
Okay.
I'd even
It's, well,
say
is
Yeah.
that's not that I'm not seeing that as part of the presentation to the select board, so I'm trying to figure out how to document this part of our discussion. Where do you want to put
I
that?
frankly, I don't know. I think it's very premature to have this discussion with the select board now. We
Yes.
haven't even convinced them that there's a problem.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just looking down the road. Okay.
No, I get that. Right.
Yeah.
I think it's worthwhile for us to discuss it, but I don't know that it's worthwhile to put in the presentation.
Okay.
I don't think just from just the math on the bond rating, it with a bead grant, at 75% covered by a grant and 25%, call it equity injection. Even if that was done by a muni bond, I think that's enough assets that the bond rating would not be impacted since the assets created, far exceed the debt. So I think it would be as far as bond debt ratings, it should be a null.
Okay. Well, again, these are
Good
all
to know.
arguments to put in the quiver, arrows that we're going to have to, fight off the naysayers, which will come out at some point on this. Um, Again, this is as far as we've gotten. Clearly, the recommendations need to be put out. I guess we're going to put a timeline in for what we see as what's coming down the road for the next 6 months. I would guess the first half of the year. I think our individual terms are up at the end of the fiscal year, so this is as long as we're authorized for, going that far. But again, Wendy is going to work on this. This is going to be cleaned up and will be the outline for a bullet point report, and then we'll knock this down to 8 or 9 slides to cover in 15 minutes. And
With a supplemental, hard copy handout for them to review either before or after or any other time they want to.
Right, and this is all going to go in the packet for that meeting. So anybody who wants to follow along can take a look at that and look at it in hard copy, as well as listening to me present the slides. Okay. This is as far as we've gotten. Tony, Wendy, and I will work some more on this, clean this up, and we'll have another iteration. Unfortunately, until we get to this meeting, we kind of have to go week by week here, just because there's a lot going on, and we definitely need all of your input on this. And thank you for what you've provided already. But
thank you for writing this. This was way more than I was expecting to be along at this point in January. So we're very excited. Thank you for working on this.
We are a high functioning team is what we are.
I'd like to offer one suggestion. So could you send out the document just before the meeting, like the day before or something, so we all have it locally?
Yes.
We can look at it ahead of time.
Yeah,
for the next meeting?
I will work on that, and
Yeah.
I'll send it out at least with the minutes, if not before.
Yeah, if you give us the latest, we can look at it ahead of time and be prepared to discuss it.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the plan was to do this today, so I didn't have a chance to do everything that I was going to do to it. But I will make that a priority for the rest of my week.
Mea culpa, my fault, poor communication. Okay, but we'll
get it done.
We'll have something a lot more polished next week.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'm going to give up screen sharing here, and I think Jed or somebody had the agenda up. If you could put that back up, see where we're at.
I can do that. Yeah.
What, today's agenda you mean, or the
Today's
next
meeting
one?
agenda? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for switching that around. We got that done. I was expecting that to run past 9:30. Thank you for moving that up on the agenda.
Let's see. One second. I just wanted to share the agenda. There it is.
Was there a second ago?
Is it any different from the one that I was laboriously able to download this morning from the website?
I think there's only one version on the website.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this it?
This is the one I got off the website. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
this is right.
There have been no changes on this. Uh,
Okay.
okay. Cape Cod Technology Council and related activities. First, we got was it the Technology Council? Somebody sent an invitation saying that a woman named
GG.
Gigi Son is going to be making a presentation on I think it's St. Valentine's Day. And she's heavily involved around the country in this. And I'll have more information at the next meeting. But if you want to put down the 14th of February for a presentation,
On what?
this
Easton.
I'm
She
sorry.
was a nominee to be on the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, as a commissioner.
Twice.
She has some
Twice was nominated.
Yeah, she was nominated but rejected because she has some views about open internet access, and she angered some conservative politicians. So eventually she withdrew her membership or her nomination.
So Bob, who's presenting to who on what day?
Okay, I will. I'll send that in a minute. I'm gonna actually let me just go into my email here.
I'll forward the email from the event
just,
right
just,
now.
just tell me real quick, what's the topic of her presentation, or do we know?
Let me ask another question. Is this the email from Steve Smith regarding her attending the Cape Cod Technology Council meeting in February?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So my recollection of that is that there was no topic for the presentation, just the fact that she's going to be there, and I believe it's going to be in person, right?
Right.
That was my understanding.
She will be there in person. That's correct.
I've also been talking with Steve Smith and others, potentially, trying to wrangle a meeting with the governor to talk the same issues that we've already presented to the select board, speed testing and feed, and making sure money's doled out appropriately for, towns to be able to use that.
The term I was thinking of is net neutrality. She's a big net neutrality proponent.
We wanted to roll back the repeal of that because the Anjit Pai had basically gutted net neutrality,
Right.
and she was like, let's just undo that. And so all the powers that got that removed in the first time came out against her.
Right. And I guess she was associated with some group that was petitioning for that. So they used conflict of interest as a reason to reject her nomination.
Okay. Well, then in any case, we ought to coordinate if anybody wants to actually participate in that. And again, if a lot of us are interested, we'll just put that on as a posted agenda.
Okay.
Another item, and I'll put this as a formal item on the agenda for next week is, and I forgot this. Anne Marie sent an email around that MBI is holding a session in Boston where they're going to be talking about digital equity.
Can you send that to me? Because I don't think I saw that.
I didn't get it either.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the national digital equity there. Boss will be coming.
Okay, and that's an in-person meeting in Boston, and that's
Okay.
on the 24th or 26th. But I'll put that on the agenda for
Of
discussion
of what month?
this month.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
send that to me because I could probably make that in person.
January. Also, I will be at a conference for MMA Friday and Saturday of next week, and MBI will be there as well. So if you have any specific questions, or if I can get an ear of someone at MBI,
Why is MBI going to Mass Maritime? They were on
there.
fiber
It's not at
backbone.
Mass Maritime. It's the Mass Municipal Association's
Oh,
annual
okay.
conference. It's in Boston next weekend.
I was like, Maritime's on the
Yeah.
Open Cape backbone, and it's like where the Comcast backbone and Verizon run by. Like they don't have problems there.
So they're listed as a vendor at the conference.
I will. I'll do some consultations, but I'll prepare a detailed list of questions for anybody whose ear you can get.
You might be able to bug them about getting some of the granular data we're looking for.
Yeah.
The data that they seem
Just
to not
even
be
responding to
responding
emails
to.
would be nice. Just like, hey,
Yeah.
what's the tool? Silence.
Right.
Have you sent like emails or excuse me or any print or digital communications to them? Because maybe you could print those out and give them to Anne Marie and
Yep.
she can hand them to him.
Yeah, I have emails to Josh that go unresponded. Like,
Yeah, well, print them out and give them to Anne Marie or
he either
CC him.
responds instantly or never. There's no in between with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. We'll assemble a package. Again, I've been consulting with Brian on sending a detailed request through the public access officer at MBI, and I have not done that yet, just because of uncertainties about a couple of elements. But we corresponded about that yesterday, so I'll have that email out too, for a packet for Anne Marie to carry around.
It's been helpful because I've gotten responses to stuff that they ignore, but it feels like using a sledgehammer when all you need is a tack hammer. But I've gotten responses to things saying X wasn't included because it's against whatever federal rule on the data or license, or like something they've been dodging. It's been helpful. So yeah, putting in the freedom of the formal requests on top of the informal ones has been helpful.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to move forward from the broadband committee to liaison with committees in other towns. Jed or Wendy, is anything going on in any of the other towns?
Well, Falmouth is continuing to have meetings with the RFI respondents. I think the last meeting is going to be this week. And then they don't have anything else on their agenda beyond that at this point.
Yeah. I get copies of their agendas and they've started putting a lot of stuff into executive session. They don't want to talk about it in public.
Well, yeah, they had, for whatever reason, they allowed Open Cape to present in executive session, which I think is not appropriate. But they did.
I know what the reason is for that. The reason is that I went to their meeting about, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks ago, and I was asking some questions about, and could I have copies of what they were doing? And they, they passed stuff out at this meeting. This was not a closed meeting. It was not an executive session. And they said, "Oh, well, we don't really want to share that." And I said, "This is a public meeting. This is mass open meeting law." And they said, "Oh, well, we're going to have to do that in executive session from now on." They don't want to tell anybody anything.
Right. Yeah. No, I get the attitude. I just don't understand the rationale.
Yeah.
That's the rationale. We don't want to. That's their rationale.
Okay. Right. So anyway, so they did all the rest of the presentations were done in public, except for part of Open Cape. Open Cape came in, talked, and then said we'll go into executive session for the rest. So anyway, according to their schedule, the last of the RFI meetings is this week. And then I haven't seen any update on this, but their requests for services, their responses are due on the 15th.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and they're still working on finding an executive director, right?
Yeah, so so there was a request for services for a junk manager that went out back in November, I think, with a deadline of response by the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And then I haven't heard anything about it, what they haven't said anything publicly, what the responses look like so far.
Okay. One other item here is the Mass Broadband Coalition. At least for the time being, I'm going to continue signing on to their Zoom calls, et cetera, and listening in. Again, one of our recommendations is going to be that the Bournes should somehow formally join or agree to participate in the Broadband Coalition. And they are working on trying to come up with exactly what their mandate in terms of reference or whatever are. They haven't done that yet. Okay, moving on.
They might not either, too, because it's generally just been a loose information sharing coalition. So joining doesn't really carry any consequences.
Well, there would,
Right, and mandate is usually something that's granted by something that's controlling. And as far as I can tell, nothing actually controls this.
right. Some of the participants, Espindola, I think, has marching orders from his select board. He is a member of the select board. So,
Mm.
it's a matter of determining exactly what those instructions are, and they might want to formalize them. But information sharing, I think, is something that we are doing under our own mandate. So we should continue that, and I will continue. I'm cognizant of time here. We might be able to get the whole thing done in the next 10 minutes. Media outreach, review and approval. Wendy, have you had time to put an article together for the enterprise for us to look at?
Nope, I have not. But
Okay.
I will, I know that one of the things we want to do is to let them know that we're going to be looking for public comment and, and see if we can solicit that. And
Yeah.
is this, do you want me to put in that we need another citizen member on the committee?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
And,
skill set should we look for? Someone right, someone technical, someone, do we have any specific need, or is it whoever we can?
Catherine was good at reaching out to the business community, but I'm not sure that, that's absolutely necessary. It's a nice plus, though.
Yeah. Because it wouldn't be useful just to get somebody that says everything's fine where I live. We need somebody with a skill set.
Or
and
with a
motivation,
company like
frankly,
Qualcomm, they sell.
motivation to get it fixed. But
Yeah, maybe we reach out to someone, say someone who's involved with whose business depends on internet connectivity. That would be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything else?
We should probably
just
have the Canal Chamber also advertise this. We might want to write something up for them to send out.
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I've got Marie on the CC list for all the other stuff that we CC'd everybody, so she'll get this.
I think it might be beneficial if it's somebody who's got some experience in telecommunications, even if it's business side, not necessarily technical side.
And look at me. I have no telecommunications experience, but I've got a lot of utility experience.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Principles are the same.
yeah.
Okay.
And
All
again,
right.
Callie isn't looking for a huge tome, so a couple of paragraphs is all that's needed here.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get her that. Well, what's today's Thursday? I'll see if I can get her that by, her deadline tomorrow.
Well, no, you remember we've got to go
It's got to
through.
come here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's got to come back through this committee first.
Can that be done online, or do we have to sit on this for another week?
We have to meet.
We have to meet.
All right.
Okay, moving forward. The speed test updates. Again, Brian and I have this public access request that's going to go to MBI. And Brian, have you been able to contact David Still and ask, what his latest update on their aggregated speed test data are?
Let me check. I don't think I've talked to him about that. Let me see. Oh, we did email him. Haven't heard back. Okay.
Yep.
That's not like him, so we'll have to circle back or call or something.
Just you might ask how the digital equity planning study is going, and say the earlier we could see draft findings and recommendations, the better for us in terms of our planning.
Yeah, I could probably follow up with him and then CC the digital equity person,
Right.
and see if they, ask for an update on that as well.
Yep. Okay. The next is the FCC poll data rulemaking. I think John and
Yeah,
Deb are on this.
I can discuss that in brief. Brian and I had a little offline exchange regarding this briefly, but essentially the FCC passed a rule that makes it easier for entities, and this is an issue, to request and get poll data from whoever owns the poll. And they specifically are talking about breaking down which polls have been what they call red tagged, which means that the utility has identified this as one that has to be repaired. And they also talked about the idea of cost sharing, whether or not the applicant for using the leasing pole space has to cost share. And it depends on whether or not the pole is in already such bad shape that it would have to be replaced or not, or is there an additional cost to the pole owner if services are added? That was the first part of it. So the complexity there is that the rule seems to, and I think Brian and I have the same interpretation, indicate that you have to be some kind of established entity. That us as a even as a town couldn't necessarily request this data unless we said, okay, well, we've got an MLP or we have we've got funding and we're going ahead with the idea of fiber. There are also
And there's some, I think I found a loophole, but it might be no good, where if we call ourselves a potential applicant, might be, but it's it's thick government text, so it's trying to find a solid way around that is tricky.
Right. And if you look at the state rules, which I also sent you out, they're even a little bit more restrictive. So that was the first issue. The second issue that I found was the fact that nowhere in there does it say you can request a total count or inventory of what's there. They kind of indicate, oh, we'll tell you what condition the poles are in and which poles we need to repair. But they don't specifically say, okay, you can go to Eversource or whatever and say, look, tell us where they are and how many. So we're not sure. I mean, in the end, should we eventually go with an MLP model, this ruling, which would this ruling on the state law would allow us to gather a certain amount of information. But the point is that until we have some formed entity, we don't necessarily have the legal weight behind us to make them give us this data. We can request it, and we talked about it with Eversource. And I actually drafted a letter, which Bob has a copy of, to request it, because at one time they did say it was available to Brian. And if we wanted to, we could follow up with that. But down the road, should the MLP model be adopted by the town, or should they want to investigate it, we would have a few arrows in the quiver to make them give us at least a certain amount of data, which might save us money in the long run if we have to go to like a make-ready situation where we're requesting that a vendor do this work. It would save them the expense, and then us the expense eventually of having to actually survey everything if the information is already out there. So that's kind of where it is right now. And Brian has drafted a letter, I think, to the FCC because they're continuing to do further rulemaking. This is not a local problem. This is a national problem where many municipalities and new groups are trying to put in broadband service, but the local utility pole people are resisting because obviously it might be taking money out of their pocket. So they're not making it easy in all cases. And there's now a procedure in place with the FCC for hearings to be taken within a certain amount of time. Normally 60 days you can request, and then they have to assign an administrative law judge. So it can be done, but they're also talking about creating an agency, an interagency committee that would oversee all this, but that hasn't been done either. So this is not something that's going to happen right away. So
there's two ways forward here. There's three areas the FCC wants comment on, since 90% of this they've already issued the rules, and there's three questions remaining that can be commented on. The other is, since it's not entirely known whether we have the right to request this information or not, it might be wise to send off a letter requesting it under the new authority. And if they could always spit back, we aren't an eligible entity or whatnot. And since going to the FCC to adjudicate this could take forever, it might be something worth just reiterating, like, hey, we already asked you guys for this poll data. We'd like to reiterate this request under this new statutory authority. So I've written a draft of that using the new regulation and citing the new law. So I just emailed that out. It's very rough, but it's something we might want to consider doing because
Keep that on the
It
agenda
can't hurt. I
for
agree. Assuming that
next
we
week.
get that data.
Let's review that letter next week. Jed, if you could keep that on the agenda.
Yeah, who's the letter to?
So one is to generic utility companies, so it'd be Verizon or Eversource or both actually. And the other letter is to the FCC because the rulemaking has some stuff we might want to address, especially one of the areas, what they consider a small application, since they're calling it 3,000 polls. And in our town, we have, without the base, like 7,000. So even a small town like us would be a large application. So it kind of seems like the threshold's a little low.
Yeah.
Along
Just
with
a
a few
question,
other things.
Brian, what is the deadline for the closing of comments on this rulemaking?
I put that in the document I sent out, I believe.
I have to look at it myself. I don't remember.
But it's here, I'll pull it up. FCC.
I'm just thinking about how soon we have to review this letter and get it out.
Oh yeah, there's going to be
I
a
believe it's
while.
February.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's not they've given us a little more time than MBI usually gives us.
Okay.
I can attest to the fact that at least the Broadcast Bureau, when I was involved, if you sent a comment in, they actually did read them all.
Yeah,
They look at them very
I've had the same, I've had the same experience.
They have to
FCC
by
is
law.
very diligent. Yep.
Yeah.
By
That's
law.
in the Administrative Procedures Act. They're not allowed. They have to come up with responsive comments. Folks, I'm going to have to sign off right now. I've got to get on the road to head north. Jed, I'm going to turn the chair over to you, and I will leave it to you to put the agenda together for next week, and it probably looks pretty similar to this. I would put on, probably explicitly look at the scope for this discussion with Gigi Son on the 14th, and also the session on the 24th, and look at exactly what the agenda is for that, and determine, if Brian should spend the time to go. Okay. Thank you, folks. And thanks for the time. And again, Wendy, Tony, and I will get a much more comprehensive version of the slides and report outline to go over next week. A little more organized. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
I found the date for comments. They're due in by February 13th. So
That makes sense. That's 60 days.
Yeah.
it's probably enough
All right.
time for us to do it next week and then get it to the select board, especially since it won't be a very long letter, since it's
Or we
only
may be able to
3
issue it
points.
ourselves because I'm not sure the select board even, could just give us the okay, go, you guys go out and send it out. And we just represent ourselves as the, cable advisory committee.
No, you can't. We can't do that, but we can do it as an individual. I mean, Brian can represent himself with the comments.
This is true. Yep.
We got enough time here. I think we can bang out a letter. It's a short enough scope that it's probably just going to be a rubber stamp on the select board, since it's so short. It's not like Bede, where it was long and intricate. They only have 3 questions out.
Yep, we can talk about that further next week.
Is there? I'm sorry to sound thick about this, but why would this not fall under our charge as information gathering? Why do we?
Oh, it does. It does.
Okay,
so
why does it need to be approved by the select board?
Oh, because because we're advising the select board. It's our charge is to advise the select board.
Yes.
So in this case, we'd be advising the select board to submit these comments.
Can we not
That's
submit
right.
the comments ourselves?
Any type of letter has to go through the select board.
Can we not submit comments ourselves?
As
As
an
As an
individual, yeah.
individual, yes,
All right.
not as representative of the committee.
All right. Okay.
Well, we can talk about it next week, but the 3 areas I think the select board would reiterate our concerns on, since one's about large order, 3,000 polls, it's not enough for a town like us. It's self-help for attachments. Like basically, so it's all labor is the other issue, whereas contractor availability and things like that, we have enough trouble getting labor on the Cape. So I'm sure we'll have comments that the select board will probably echo, given the it's the same problem with every project on the Cape. It's trying to find labor is always problematic, and making it any harder than it needs to be is going to make it worse.
Mhm. And then
Okay.
you said there was a third one?
They're kind of intertwined. We can talk about it next week.
Yeah, it's for next week. So we have 2 items left. So the point of contact for new bridge fiber infrastructure.
I haven't continued to pursue that, but again, I'll be at that Mass Municipal Association Leadership Conference. So there might be some contact information there. Maybe not specific to our bridge work, but maybe through networking, someone may have some information.
Right.
Okay.
All right. And then the last one is audio issues on channel 4 and CBS.
Okay, I have information on that. I have it from the very highest authority. All of these people are folks that I pretty well know. That this was not a Comcast issue. The audio issue on Channel 4 was not related to Comcast, and it's not related locally to WBZ. A lot of broadcast stations these days use what's called an RTC, a regional technical center. That is to say that their programming, or a large percentage of their programming, actually comes to them via fiber or satellite or whatever from some tech center someplace where they are running multiple stations at the same time. WBZ is owned by CBS, and a lot of their programming comes from a regional technical center in, I believe, Atlanta. And they have had some documented issues. If you ever watch like the CBS morning programming, you will see stuff getting cut off every now and then, audio going away. There have been some issues that are involved. I suspect that this is the cause of the problem, but I was assured by the very highest authority at WBZ that the problem with the audio going away on Channel 4 was not caused by Comcast. So it's coming into them.
Okay. Good
Well,
to
that's
know.
good to know that for once it's not their problem.
Yeah, I mean, I basically emailed them or texted them, and I said, gee, most of the time we find it is a local problem, but in this case, I didn't suspect it. The reason is that the audio and the video are sent as a single data package. It's all bits. So it's not like the old days where you transmitted audio and video separately. It's all combined way earlier than we see it. So if you start to see the video breaking up and the audio going away, then you have an idea that perhaps it might be a Comcast issue. But the fact that, at least in my case, I'm sitting there watching the Patriots game and the video was fine and the audio just kept chopping in and out. That kind of told us that the issue was earlier in the chain than Comcast.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else on this?
Nope.
All right. So we'll move over to the agenda for next time.
We're meeting next week, I take it?
That's what I've proposed here. And then let's see, this is kind of, I've been making notes as we go along here. So I put the select board presentation update up first,
Mhm.
then the liaisons. There's the Cape Technology Council, other towns. I added one in for Bross Broadband, to Bob's point. And then he wanted to talk about a couple of meetings. One is this MBI National DEI meeting on January 24th. And then there's the Cape Cod Technology Council presentation, February 14th with Gigi Sohn. We'll talk about those. Then any media outreach for approval. Got that there. Again, another speed test update. Then I added the poll data requests. There looked like Brian had a set for utilities and another for the FCC.
Mhm.
And then I kept this last item here. Questions, comments? Everybody okay? All right. If everyone's okay with this, then I'm going to send it to Maria after we sign off here.
Is Brian's letter in there? That I'm looking at it.
Yes.
Yeah, 4I.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Can someone email me this digital equity thing? I'm not finding it in my inbox.
I'm not familiar with it either.
I didn't
I
get it.
can, Brian.
Awesome. Thank you
Can
so
you
much.
send it to the whole committee, please?
Yes,
Sure.
please.
And then we'll have that as background for our conversation next week. All right, if everyone's okay with the agenda, then I'm gonna save it and send it to Maria after we sign off. And then I guess, is everybody okay with adjourning? Any objections to adjourning? None? Okay, so we're all done. 9:39.
9:30. Okay.
All right, see y'all next week.
All right, feel
Yeah.
better,
Okay.
Anne Marie.